Okay, clase, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're going to discuss two verbs, the verbs ser and estar. Now these verbs are both a little bit weird, especially in the yo form, and we're going to see all of their forms and we're going to see how they're used and when they're used. So let's check them out. Now, ser and estar actually both mean to be. So I'm going to put to be and to be. Ser, however, is a little bit more permanent. Estar is less permanent. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. So, when do we use to be in English? Every time I hear this, I think about Shakespeare, to be or not to be. That's not really what I'm talking about. When we use to be, usually we use it saying things like I am, you are, he, she is. These are my forms of to be in English, so let's check them out in Spanish. My yo form of this verb ser is going to be yo soy, and it literally means I am. Tú eres, you are. You see, these are my using it in English. I am Jake, you are Happy. Él es, he is. Ella es, she is. Usted es, you, formal, are. Again, remember usted, we use with our grandma, with our doctor, with neighbors, with people on the street, people who we respect. Nosotros or nosotras somos, we are. Vosotros or vosotras sois, y'all are in Spain. And then I have ellos or ellas, son, they are. And I have ustedes, son, y'all are Latin America, or around here, right? So these are all of my forms of the verb ser. Make sure you get them in your notebook, make sure you have them. We're gonna see which situations we use this verb ser in just a second. I'm gonna erase all this, make sure that you have it. In order to know when you use ser, we have this little acronym that is doctor. I'm wanting to type it out. Doctor. So when will I use the word ser with doctor? Let's start with my D. My D stands for date. Why will I use ser for the date? For example, to say today is the 5th of November. I will use ser with the date because the date is permanent. Now, I know that it changes in the sense that tomorrow will be the 6th of November, but when we look back in time, today will always have been the 5th of November. So it's permanent enough. This moment in time is permanent. This day permanently will be November 5th. All right. So I will use ser with date. See an example. Hoy es el 15 de noviembre. Today is the 15th of November. Again, permanent enough. Okay, so there's an example for a date. If you want to pause and write that down, you're more than welcome to. My second situation in which I will use ser has to do with occupation. What is my occupation? My occupation is my job / what fills my time. Okay, here's an example. Tú eres maestro. You are a teacher. Now, I want you to note one thing. First of all, I know job isn't permanent either, which is why I put ser more permanent and less permanent. A job is something that's permanent enough. Even though I'm a teacher today, I could be fired tomorrow and then I would not be a teacher anymore. But a job is permanent enough, my occupation is permanent enough that I will use ser when discussing it. I want you to note one thing. In English, we use this word Oops, I didn't change this. I wanted to change the color. We use this word You are a teacher in English, right? In Spanish, we don't put tú eres un maestro, like you are a teacher. When I'm talking about job, I will literally say the equivalent of tú eres maestro, you are teacher. However, in English, we do need this you are a teacher. So note that when you're talking about occupation, you do not use this word Let's take one other example. Oops. Él es piloto. Notice, he is pilot, right? Él es piloto. He is, in English, we say that a pilot to describe his occupation. Again, he's a pilot today. He might not be a pilot tomorrow, but it's permanent enough that we will use this verb ser. Okay, I'm going to erase this. Feel free to pause and write it down if you must, and we're going to continue on. This letter C, what does C stand for in doctor? Characteristics. Okay, characteristics, how people are as people. I'm going to give you an example really quick. In English, Ellen is a happy person. Ellen is a happy person. We say this, a happy person, because I'm describing a characteristic of Ellen in English. In Spanish, I can just say the equivalent of Ellen es, there's my form of ser, feliz. Because I'm using ser and I'm not using estar with this example, I'm saying Ellen is a happy person. I'm describing her as a person. Ellen es feliz, because I'm using this more permanent version, okay? I'm not saying she's happy today and she might not be happy tomorrow. I'm saying she's a generally happy person, describing her characteristics. Another common one is like Jeff es alto, right? Jeff is tall. Tall is a characteristic of Jeff. He's not going to be tall today and short tomorrow. Jeff is tall. He will always be tall, right? So it's relatively permanent and it's one of his characteristics. Jeff es alto. Jeff is tall. A ver. Pablo, is mean. Pablo es antipático. Pablo es antipático. He's mean. Pablo is mean, right? He's a mean person, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's being mean today. So that's important. So there's my characteristics. Now my T. T stands for time. Again, I know that the time changes, but when you look back at this moment, exactly when I'm filming this video, it's November 5th, 12:48 p.m. This moment will always have been 12:58 p.m. or 12:48 p.m. So it's permanent. Time is permanent. Now, the way we talk about time in Spanish is a little bit weird. Let's take an example. Let's say I want to say, it is 2 p.m. How I say it in English. It is 2 p.m. in English. In Spanish, I'm talking about the hours on the clock. So I'm literally saying they are however many hours they are. I know it sounds very, very, very weird, but let's take the example. So if I want to say they are, and I'm talking about hours, horas, I want to say son las 2 de la tarde. And we'll talk more about telling time, but they are the 2 in the afternoon. I know this sounds very, very, very weird in Spanish, but just understand that I'm talking about the hours on the clock. So I say the equivalent of it is or they are, and then the, and then the hours, and then I could say in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Let's take another example. It is 10 a.m. in English, right? It's 10 in the morning. In Spanish, I will say the equivalent of they are the 10 in the morning or a.m., right? They are the, it's going to be son las, which this you'll see with most times, son las 10 de la mañana, okay? 10 de la mañana. That will always have been 10 a.m. So it's a permanent thing in that moment will always have been 10 a.m. That's why I'm using ser with this. Now, let's say it is 1, right? It is 1 p.m. Now I'm only talking about 1 hour. There's only 1 hour on the clock, right? So I'm going to say the equivalent of it is the, my typing is going on. It is the 1 p.m., right? Es la 1 de la tarde, right? And I'm saying es because I'm saying it is. Es la 1 de la tarde. Okay. I know it's very, very weird for us English speakers, but that's how we say time. And it is a permanent thing, so I'm using ser. My second O, my last O, stands for origin, okay? Where is something / someone from, okay? That's my origin. So Let's take an example. I'm going to erase this really quick. Where's something from? I am from Wisconsin. I will say my ser form of I am, which if you remember is yo soy. And then to say from, I will say de, and then Wisconsin. Yo soy de Wisconsin. Is de being from. Why? Even though I live in Texas now, I will always have been from Wisconsin. My origin is more permanent, right? So there's that. I am from Wisconsin. Yo soy de Wisconsin. Quick question for y'all. Do I need this word yo? Think about it. Do I need to put this word yo in there? I don't, because I'm already putting soy, right? So if I say soy, you already know that I'm talking about yo because I'm using the yo form of ser. You can put yo, but you don't have to. So I can just say, soy de Wisconsin. I am from Wisconsin. They are from Mexico. Ellos son de Mexico, right? Ellos son de Mexico. Do I need ellos? I absolutely do not need to put ellos. I can just put son de Mexico, right? Because I'm talking about where they are from. It's permanent. And then my last R, relationship. I understand that relationships change. So this could be, he is my friend. He might not be my friend tomorrow, but it's permanent enough. Again, that we're going to use this verb ser. Let's take an example. Carlos is my friend. Carlos es, because I'm talking about he, mi amigo. Talking about él. Él es mi amigo. He is my friend. Carlos is my friend, right? Carlos es mi amigo, my form of ser. I know that it's not permanent. We could have a coming apart tomorrow and Carlos could not be my friend anymore, but it's permanent enough that we're going to use ser. And then with relationships like family members, for example. Johnny is my brother. He is my brother. He will always be my brother. Johnny es mi hermano, right? Johnny es mi hermano. I am his dad. Yo soy su papá. Okay? Yo soy su papá. Permanent. I'm saying I am his dad. That's my form of ser. Okay. I hope that makes sense to you. Ser is a saying to be, but in a permanent way. Now let's move on to this verb, estar. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of ser here. So first, let's talk about all of our forms of the verb estar. Yo estoy. I am, obviously, less permanent. Yo estoy. My tú form, estás, is going to go in the same order. You are, less permanent. Él está. He is, less permanent. Ella está. And notice a lot of these have accent marks on them. She is. Usted está. You, formal. Are. Nosotros, nosotras. Estamos. We are. Vosotros, vosotras. Estáis. Y'all are in Spain. Ellos or ellas. Están. They are. And then ustedes as well. Están. Y'all are around here. I'm going to put Latin America. Okay, so these are my forms of estar. Make sure you get these down. Make sure that you have them in your notebook so that you can refer back to them. Estar is my less permanent way of saying to be. Now, which are my situations in which I will use the verb estar? In order to remember this, we use this acronym, place. Place. Generally, less permanent things. Okay. The P in place stands for position. What do I mean by this? Something's position relative to another thing, or someone's position relative to another person. So, for example, the pen is on the desk. The pen is on the desk. We see in English I'm using this word is, but it's not permanent. I could take the pen off the desk and throw it across the room and it will be on the floor, right? So it's not a permanent situation. So for that reason, I'm going to use this verb estar. La pluma está encima del escritorio. Okay? La pluma está encima del escritorio, right? Está is on top of the desk, right? It's a non-permanent thing. Let's take another example. I am behind you. Estoy detrás de ti. Estoy detrás de ti, right? I am, estoy, behind you. In 5 seconds, I may no longer be behind you. I may be somewhere else. So it's a non-permanent thing. That's my position. Next, let's look at location. Location is basically the same thing, saying where you are, not necessarily relative to another thing, but it's not a non-permanent thing. So here's an example. We are in Houston. We could not be in Houston in the near future, right? We could leave and we could go to Dallas. We could go to Austin. It's a non-permanent thing. Nosotros estamos, there's my nosotros form of the verb estar, en Houston. Nosotros estamos en Houston, right? We are in Houston. Nosotros estamos en Houston. So this is my are, estamos, a non-permanent thing. You are in Canadá. Tú estás en Canadá. You are in Canadá, right? You see, tú estás en Canadá. Again, do I need this tú? I do not need this tú because I'm saying estás. I'm already putting it in the form of tú. And you know that it's a temporary thing. I could not say tú eres en Canadá. This I cannot say. I cannot say this, and Google's trying to help me out. I cannot say this because eres is my permanent form of to be. I want to say my temporary form, right? So Google's trying to fix it. Thank you, Google. Tú estás en Canadá. Okay, let's continue. A is for action. Action is a little bit ahead of the verbal forms that we were talking about in Spanish too, but I'll discuss it anyway. This will be something like, I am running. I am running. I'm running right now. I'm not going to permanently be running. I may hopefully quit in 10 to 20 minutes, right? I will be done running. So I am running will be something like estoy corriendo. But this end here, corriendo, is a little bit, we haven't covered it yet. So, but just understand an action is something that's temporary. So if you want to say I am doing something, it'll be a temporary thing. C stands for condition. Condition. Okay, the condition of something. So let's take an example. This shirt is dirty. I'm using this word is, but I'm not saying it's like a permanently dirty shirt. I'm just saying I wore it out in the mud and it's dirty. So let's check it out. Esta camisa está sucia. Temporary is dirty. This shirt, and we have this in our vocab, está sucia, is dirty. Note that I put sucia. Why? Because dirty is describing camisa, right? So esta camisa está sucia. This shirt is dirty. Note, when I'm talking about one other thing, whether it's él or ella, it's the same as if I was talking about one other person. So I refer to this shirt as ella, right? It's almost like saying she is dirty because the shirt is a feminine noun. Right? So esta camisa está sucia. Let's take an example with a person, okay? I am sick. I am sick. I'm not saying I'm a sick person, right? I'm just saying I'm sick today. I might not be sick tomorrow. I can say, yo estoy enfermo. Yo estoy enfermo. And I say enfermo because I'm describing myself and I'm a boy. If I were a girl, I would say estoy enferma. Again, I don't need the yo, but I can put it there. Google's trying to fix me because, I guess because it's in English mode. But yo estoy enferma. It's a condition. Conditions are temporary. And then my last one, and I think this will make sense to y'all, emotion. Emotion. Emotion, how someone's feeling. And this is where we talked about earlier characteristics. I said Ellen is happy, like she's a happy person. Well, I could say she's happy today as well, and that's a different use of the word to be in Spanish. So let's take it. Ellen is happy today, right? Here I will say not Ellen es feliz, because I'm not describing how she is as a person. I'm just saying temporarily she's happy. Ellen está feliz. Ellen está feliz. And I can put the word today as well. Ellen está feliz hoy, right? It's a temporary thing. Ellen is happy today. Ellen está feliz hoy. Let's take another example. They are mad. Ellos están enojados. Ellos están enojados. It's an emotion. I'm not saying they're mad people. They're angry people. Just saying they're mad today. They might not be mad tomorrow. They're mad right now. They might not be mad in an hour. So it's a temporary thing. So understand that both of these verbs mean to be, but they mean to be in different ways. And these are my situations in which I will use them. Take a couple examples and just think about, I'm going to erase this. I hope you already have it in your notes. Just think about, how would I say the word to be in these examples? I am funny describing myself as a person. Okay, so I'm putting this just to give you guys a little bit of context. I want to say I'm like a funny person, right? I'm funny. He is really angry right now. My teacher is mean, right? She's like a mean teacher, or he's like a mean teacher. I'm a mean teacher. I hope you don't say that, but they are sweaty, right? So think about which word you would use, ser or estar, and then which form of each of these words that you would use. We are lost. We are lost, right? We are lost. If I want to describe, we don't know where we're going. We're totally lost right now. And then lastly, you are in California. California. You are in California. So think about these examples. Think about which word will I use, ser or estar? What am I describing? Is it a condition? Is it an emotion? Is it an occupation? Is it, a date? Let's think about a couple more. Today is December 25th. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. Today is December 25th. And then one last one. She is a doctor. Okay. All different situations, all different uses of this verb ser and this verb estar. I hope this lesson has helped you guys out a little bit. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I will try and get to them as quickly as possible, but I appreciate all of you guys. Be safe, be smart, and make some decent decisions. Pura vida.